I'm not an expert shooter. I never grew up around guns. I wasn't in the military or law enforcement. I'm not a USPSA Grandmaster. I'm just another kid with a camera. But I do want to get better. And so today I want to start a new series about learning the fundamentals from the ground up, building up on my accuracy, target acquisition, shooting at speed, reloads, and other metrics. And hopefully I can come out a better marksman out of this. And so these are going to take a couple videos, and so hopefully these videos are entertaining enough for you guys to stick around, and let's begin. In regards to the first leg of our journey, I'm going to be talking about pistol accuracy. Now, historically, I am not the best pistol shooter out there. My groupings are all over the place, and I have the receipts to show for it. Now, the way I'm going to go about this is I'm going to be focusing on accuracy at 10, 15, 20, and 25 yards. And what I'm kind of looking for is a 10-shot fist-size group at each of these distances. So what I'm going to try to do is at least get maybe 3 in a row of fist-size groupings, and then I'll move on to the next range and so on and so forth, and afterwards I'll progress to the next stage of our journey. Now, before I begin seriously training for accuracy, I kind of wanted to gauge where I was at the time and sort of set a benchmark of where I was back then to where I'll be in the future. So right here I have this target, and it's at different distances from 5, 10, 15 to 20 yards, and I have 5-shot groups. So let me just zoom in for you guys just so you can see a lot better. So right there. And so at the 5-shot group, or at the 5-yard group, I'm pretty dead on right there, and I'm very happy with that grouping. At the 10-yard line, right here, we start to get some deviation right there, but it's all within the circle. I'm still happy at the time. By 15, we start falling from the light, and it started going down like that. It's a little concerning right there. And by 20, we have totally fallen from grace. And I only have 4 shots on paper and 1 outside of the actual paper, which is pretty sad, to be honest. And so, not exactly my proudest moment. It's actually kind of embarrassing to show off, but you know what they say. Once you're at rock bottom, you can only go up. So after that abysmal performance, it then came down time to begin my training. And the way I started this training, as every other endeavor I do, was to watch YouTube videos. And so I just typed in pistol accuracy, and I watched every video under the moon. Whether I was drinking tea, I was watching pistol accuracy videos, washing dishes, pistol accuracy videos, playing Roblox, pistol accuracy videos, and I tried to absorb as much information as I could, and then I tried to apply that. And so from putting theory to practice, I did that with dry fire training. And I did it in a couple ways. The first way was I wanted to eliminate as much flinch as I could. I noticed that whenever I was dry fire practicing, that I had a tendency to kind of jump like that. And I really needed to get rid of that. And the way I did that was to point at a blank wall and then just pull the trigger as slow as possible, just understanding where all that slop is, where the trigger is gonna break, and where the reset is, and just eliminate as much flinch and movement as possible and have as steady of a gun as I could. And so after I did that, then what I started doing was actually training with targets. As you can see in the back right here, I have a target pinned to the wall. And this is what it looks like right here. It's nothing special, it's just the Olympics air pistol shooting target. And in the middle, it's more or less a fist-sized target. And so I figured it's pretty applicable to what I'm trying to get at. And so I would just take these to the wall, and I would just aim at the target. And I would kind of stand from 5, 10 to 15 yards away and just keep dry firing it as if I was actually at the range. And then I did that for about like 15 minutes a day. I'll do that, or if I'm feeling lazy, what I'll do is I'll just watch Netflix or YouTube on my computer, and if there was like a person on the screen, I would just point it at that person and shoot just like that. And I would get my reps in like that. And so maybe I shot between 500 to 700 dry fire rounds a day, but who knows if that's enough. But I did that for a couple weeks, and eventually I felt confident enough to actually go to the range and apply what I was doing with dry fire practice to a live fire range. So regarding the actual range footage, I actually filmed this multiple times, but unfortunately, I wasn't necessarily happy with the quality of the footage and the videography that I took, and so I never felt confident in posting those videos. However, I do have the targets to show off. Now, these targets are labeled in meters, but in reality, they're actually yards. So right here, I have the 7-yard target right there, and as you can see, my grouping was actually pretty outstanding to me personally, and I really liked it, and I figured I was on the right path. And so that's 7 yards right there. Now, by 10 yards and just 3-yard difference, this is what it was looking like. And what I kind of attribute this was to actually over confidence or too much confidence. And I started to try to shoot a little bit faster, but in reality, I was really just throwing the shots off. And it's really reflective right there. It's just all over the place, and not my best performance right there. So by the 15 meter, or 15 yard actually, I kind of tried to hone in a lot more, kind of a reality check, and I started to focus a bit better. And so I'm a little bit more onto the paper. It's still not perfect right there, but it's better than the 10 meter in my opinion. So that's 15 right there. And at 20, I was actually really surprised with the sort of grouping I got right there. Of course, I had a couple flyers, some of them not even on the paper, but this little grouping right there, I was actually really happy with, and I was surprised that even happened. And so, with that being said, I actually went to the range again the week later, and this is where I was at 10 yards, or 10 yards right there. And it's actually a whole lot better than what I was at the week prior. Let me pull that up. So I focused a lot more on just shooting a whole lot slower and just really focusing in on those sights. So as you can see, here's the week before and the week after, and I would say a pretty dramatic difference in accuracy, and I was very happy with that, but I wasn't happy with the way that footage was shot. And so that being said, I went to the range just last week, and I'll show you guys the footage and the results of what I shot. So looking back at the footage, and it's safe to say it wasn't exactly what I expected. I figured with the amount of dry fire practice training that I was doing and all the preparation that I would hit a lot closer to my goals, but lo and behold, I am hitting way high. And so when I fired that first shot, I saw that I was hitting high, and I was kind of confused. I was aiming for that black, and I thought my hands were real steady. And so I try to shoot again, and I'm hitting way high, way high, way high, and I get a flyer out there. And so this was my first couple strings of shots. Now, to go into excuse modes, for whatever reason, whenever I was shooting, my hands were so shaky. I don't know what was going on, and I could attribute this to a couple factors, possibly. First being that maybe I was just nervous, and I was nervous to get that really good first impression, and I was all shaky. Secondly was the drive. I was in traffic. I was driving like 40 minutes, and I was already late to the range, and maybe that's already kind of wore me out a little bit, but my hands were super shaky in that first string. And so it wasn't a really good first round of shots, but let's see what I do in the next couple rounds. Okay, so by the second string of shooting, I decided I really needed to lock in. And so I was really just honing in on the sights, and whenever I take my first shots, again, I'm starting to group way high again. Now, granted, in this case, my groupings were a lot tighter than they were on the first string of shots, but again, I'm still aiming for the middle and not hitting the middle. Actually, I've only got one shot that actually hit the middle circle target. And so what I kind of attribute this to is I don't think I got that proper grip. As you can see, midway through that video, I was kind of like readjusting, and maybe possibly I didn't get the right grip and thus the right sight alignment, and that may have been throwing my shots off at that point. Onto that third string, I'm still aiming way high on those first couple shots, and I figure I'm doing something wrong, right? You know, I already tried to correct my grip and my sight alignment and shooting slowly, but I'm still aiming high. And so my last conclusion was maybe it's the way that I'm actually holding the gun. I was holding it way out just like this, and I figured, you know, what's the harm in trying to shoot a little bit closer? And so I brought the pistol closer in hopes that it might give me a little bit more stability. And in the last couple shots, I actually started hitting right in the middle. And so I'm starting to get a little bit more confidence, and you would think that I would learn from my mistakes and start shooting a little closer to me, but lo and behold, I did not. And so you'll see in the next couple videos. On the fourth string, I didn't exactly take the hint of bringing the gun a little closer. As you can see, I was still shooting way out like that. But the difference is, I was actually kind of locked in on this string. And what I was really focusing on was just pulling that trigger as slow as possible. I felt as though in those previous runs, I was actually just pulling the trigger really hard. And I think that had to do with like recoil anticipation, which I had to fix. But this time I shot it as slow as possible and just really focused on like the sight and just pulling that trigger as slow as possible. And I actually ended up with the best score of the day. As you can see, a lot of the shots were in that middle black circle. I had a couple flyers here and there, but I was very happy with the results I got from this right there. And so that's the fourth string. That's the fourth string right there. Now on that fifth string, I decided this time I was going to shoot with the gun a lot closer, and whenever I fired my first shot, I hit this nice little bugger right there. And you can actually see in the video, I visibly nodded in disapproval seeing that flyer right there. But actually, after I started to really focusing in, I hit most of my shot into that center circle right there with only a couple of flyers right here, and I was pretty happy with that. I found that with the gun just ever so slightly closer to me, I had a lot more stability with my shot, and I could see a lot better with this. And so maybe in the future, I'm actually going to practice shooting in this position more often. But overall, it was a pretty nice string right there. By the sixth and last string, I basically put everything together. I was firing slowly, I had a really good positioning, and I had a really stable shot. And that resulted in a really nice grouping right here. Hopefully the camera will pick up on it, but a lot of the shots in the middle, just a couple flyers on the outside, but I was really happy with the way I ended out the range day. Now, I intended to shoot 10 targets, 10 shots each, but unfortunately my friends kind of ate up the rest of my printable targets, and so I just ended up with these 6 targets right there. But I was really happy with the progression that I was getting at with this range day. And if we look at it, I would say I had a really good improvement from the start of the range day to the end of the range day. And so I learned a lot of valuable lessons, and I took away a lot of things that I can improve on, things I did really good at, and by the time of the next range day, hopefully I'll be a much better shooter. Okay, so after that range day, I have a couple key takeaways and some self-diagnosed issues that hopefully I can fix by the next range day. So first off was my grip. I felt that watching those videos, I did a lot of this, just readjusting my grip. I really need to focus on getting one single grip that I can really rely on and just hone in on that. And I think I'll be really good on that front. Another thing too is just drawing that trigger. I felt like whenever I was pulling the trigger in some of those videos, I was like really hard on the trigger. I think a lot of it had to do with recoil control or trying to mitigate recoil, but I really need to work on just focusing on remembering and feeling that trigger right there. That's something. And another is also going to be like how I hold the gun itself. I was doing a lot of this, but I'm thinking I really want to transition to shooting a lot closer like this. I felt like I really had a lot of stability on the gun and I had a lot of success, so I might start training and shooting like this as well. And lastly, I just need to get my nerves under control. I felt like with those first couple shots, I was really nervous or I was really tired. I just needed to learn how to sort of take a breather, relax, and then focus on shooting afterwards. And so those are some of the key takeaways. I'm sure you guys have some as well. But I believe that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully you guys found it entertaining. So by the time of the next video, I'm going to shoot at 10 yards again, but by that time I'm going to practice a lot and hopefully I'll get a lot better shooting. And so hopefully you guys like these videos enough to join again, and if you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to check out my Instagram, TikTok, or even my Discord. And especially on my Discord, we basically are just a bunch of guys who love talking about guns and gears, and you know, we just share all about our cool stuff. And so if you're interested in something like that, be sure to join, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Zigziang, guys.
Музыки колес во внимание, я еду на the fool he has to share.